Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit north node, square opposition, or inconjunct one's natal sun. Now, when we're talking about transits that involve the north node, they can be about one's future, destiny, mission, what you're learning and aspiring to be, and where you feel you're directed toward. Now, at this time, when you have this transit, now transit north node, when it's basically making an adverse aspect to the natal sun, I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, well, squares and oppositions, of course, those are adverse and negative aspects in astrology, but an inconjunct aspect is neutral, and neutral aspects can have good and bad qualities. And when you have an inconjunct can also require an adjustment or transition. And those things, of course, can be exasperate, can cause some exasperation and tension. So collectively, basically, I do see this as an adverse transit. Now, again, when transit north node is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal sun, it can be about one's future, destiny, what you're learning, aspiring to be, where you're directed toward. Those things may conflict with your life just in general at this time. If you're, you know, the thing is, if your sun is in Capricorn, it could be a, life that's very dominated by the career ambitions, and one in which you might be in some position of authority, and you live in a very disciplined manner or fashion. It can be Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer can be one of introversion, um, to say the absolute least, and dominated by family activities. Now the thing is, also too, the sun is connected with the biological father, so it might be where there might be some issues that you're dealing with the biological father at this time that might be challenging, where you feel you're directed toward what you feel your mission is or purpose, or what you're learning or aspiring to be. um, this could be issue. I mean, you look at this as well. I mean, the sun is also connected with one's drive and motivation. So you might not feel as driven and motivated, as inspired to go after what your future is at this time, or there might be something where, I mean, what your north node can be connected again with what you're learning and aspiring to be. And again, you might not have that drive and motivation or enthusiasm to really do that at this point in time. And this could also be a situation too, given that the sun is also associated with children. It can be where maybe you feel your future is not, with children, or it could be where they, this time it could be where children that you may have may be challenging. Matters in what you're learning and aspiring to be. There might be matters with children that are taking precedence over this point in time of the transit. It can be something to, if you don't have any children at this time, I would say, and the fact that the north node can be what your future is, what you're directed toward, you might feel at this time where children are not going to be in your future. It's not where you're directed toward at this point in time. And also, again, going back to the fact that the sun can be connected with the biological father, it could be a time too where you don't, I mean, as far as activities with the biological father or what have you, these are things where maybe you don't feel destined for at this point in time anyway. You might be taking a break from matters with the biological father at this time. The sun is also connected with the energy and vitality, and you might at this time, maybe the energy is not there to go after your future, after what what you're learning and aspiring to be. That the vitality, the energy just might not be there in order to get this done, or the drive and motivation. may not be there to pursue your future at this time. It doesn't mean you can't. It doesn't mean definitely you can't do that, but it might be harder to just pull up the enthusiasm or motivation and drive to do so at this point in time. The vitality just might not be there for that. And the sun is also connected with the physical body. It has some connection with it. Yes, the ascendant is what dominates the physical body and appearance, but the sun can play a role as well. Now, you figure like 11 out of 12 cases, on average, you're going to have a different sun sign than the ascendant. So in most instances, it will be different, and the sun does play some role physically, and it might be you might be going through some issues physically that might be taking priority over going after your future. It might be inhibiting you from what you need to do, where you feel you're directed toward at this time. Like say if the let's say for example, if the natal sun is in Aquarius, it could be some issues with the ankles, the shins, calves, lower legs, circulation, or nerves. And anatomically, the sun is connected with the heart, the upper back, the spine, and also the left or right eye, depending on gender. So there may be some issues with one or more of these things at this time that might be making it harder, making it more of an arduous task to go after what you're learning and aspiring to be. It could be even issues that may have to be addressed or confronted. Those things might be harder to deal with at this time if you are going through any of those issues anatomically that I stated that are connected with the sun. And also, too, the sun is about domination as well. And say, for example, if you have the natal sun in Sagittarius, if you're trying to dominate in some sport, for example, even if it's just on a recreational level, it might be harder to do so at this time because you might not be able to put that full energy into that if you are trying to go after what your future is, your destiny, your mission, what you feel the purpose is at this point in time. And again, even issues that may need to be addressed or confronted. It can also be a time, the sun is also connected with dominant males in one's life. And if there's something where you've had certain activity and involvement with dominant males in your life scheme at this time, it might be a time where if you're going after what you're trying to learn and aspire to be, where you're directed toward, it might conflict with those activities, and the dominant males in your life might be taking a back seat at this time, or it might go the other way, where these people feel like they're conflicting with what you're trying to do. It could be qualities that you're trying to develop at this time, and you might be trying to work on that, but you might be dealing with some males that figure prominently in your life that are conflicting with it at this point in time. Now, the sun is also connected with our focus and attention, and it might be harder to focus and put your attention on your future at this time, on the qualities you're trying to develop, those attributes that are associated with the North Node, or where you're directed toward at this point in time, or you might be trying to take your focus away from that at this point in time. Your focus and attention may be on something else, and it might be causing a conflict with what you're trying to do in terms of what you feel your future might be, your mission, your purpose at this point in time of the transit. Now, another way this transit may manifest, it could be where qualities that you're trying to develop, it could be where they may conflict just with your life in general, reiterating what I said before. Now, going back to say that the sun is in the zodiac sign Cancer, it could be a life of introversion, safety, security, dominated by home, family. Maybe it's one when you nurture and care for others constantly. Also, too, another way this transit may be expressed, it could be that issues that need to be addressed and confronted may challenge actions that need to be taken at this time. Let's say, for example, if the natal sun is in Scorpio, it could be issues with crisis or insurance or will, or even crime you might be dealing with, say, in your neighborhood, or some investigation that needs to be done. It could be, hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, now another way this transit may be expressed, I mean, where the future lies at this time, it might be something you just don't have the energy and vitality for at this time, or that drive and motivation. Let's say, for example, if the North Node, transit North Node is in Virgo in the 8th house, it could be doing something with, analytical, which is Virgo, astrology or psychology, which is connected with the 8th house, and also too, what you're learning and aspiring to be at this time may conflict with the basic character, which is connected with the sun sign. Now, if the North Node, safe transit North Node, is in Aries in the 12th house, as an example, it could be where you might be, really, wanting to fight for the less fortunate, the weak, the more passive at this time, which is the 12th. And fighting, of course, in combat is Aries. And also, this is, in another way, this transit may manifest. It could be what you're destined for at this time. May conflict, say with where you want to put your focus, your attention on, and dominant males in your life at this time. And it's really could be a tough transit at this point in time, because remember, the sun can be connected with the purpose as well. I would say in the North Node in transit, it's a purpose that you may want to fulfill during the time of that transit. I mean, the transit North Node in a sign lasts for, like, I believe 18 or 19 months. So it's really, I mean, it's a fairly good period. So the average, it's going to stay, let's say, I mean, if it enters one's house around the time of the start of the transit in a sign, it's going to be in that house for on average for about 18 or 19 months. You figure an average house size is 30 degrees. So anyway, and of course when you have a transit in a sign, it's 30 degrees. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard is saying, stay well.